Here we go. Ready, back it. No, but like for real. Hey y'all, welcome back to the internet. This is Avery and Beckett, Design 264, Pandemic Edition. World building and art and games and life in brief. So world building. It's a term used to acknowledge the deliberate activity, the building, that an artist does to create a space within their art, their world. World building. World building. Usually, you'll hear the term in connection with fiction writing. Where do your wizards go to school? Hogwarts. Where do they buy their wands? Ollivanders. How does a mountain troll smell? Like a mixture of old socks and the kind of public toilet no one seems to clean. The author builds a world that holds its characters, that challenges its characters, that after time bestows verisimilitude on those characters and everything else within that world. With all the details, it all just seems real. But world building is not just for fantasy, and it's not just for fiction, and it's not just for authors and game makers. I'd argue it's the fundamental project of any artist, and also what we all do, just a little, all day, every day. Don't you feel like we're all always world building? A little? Aren't you always just a little outside yourself, observing yourself, watching yourself on Zoom? Don't you always just a little redefine your situation, rebuild your world to help it make sense for you? Maybe. We're all a little too permeated with Hollywood's plot lines and archetypes and montages to not always, in some way, be building out a world within the movie of our own life. And maybe we're all a little too infused with social media's hashtags and likable posts and comments to not always, in some way, be building out a world within our various social media feeds. I don't know. Maybe. Food for thought. As artists, we take in the world. We filter it through our biases, our hang-ups, our loathes, our loves, our excitements, our limitations, our fantasies, and ourselves in that moment. And then we process that information, the world we just took in, and then we push something back out into the world, something mediated through an object, an image, a speech, a painting, a drawing, an animation, an idea, a game. It's a new proposition given back to the old world. I've built something new for you. I've built something that may show your cracks. I've built something that may highlight your glory. I've built something that may replace you. I've built a new world. What will you make of it? And now, some world-building artists, abridged. In a world, some world-building artists, abridged. In a world. And now, some world-building artists, abridged. So, Alexander Calder, you know the guy who did this. Built a miniature circus to entertain his friends. He built a world and played with it. Judy Chicago made the dinner party in the 1970s to honor 99 women at a fictionalized, unrealizable, fantastical dinner party that will never happen, but maybe has always happened for Judy Chicago, and now will happen forever as it is on permanent display at the Brooklyn Museum of Art. You all should check it out. She built a world. Sun Ra made music and lived a life that embraced what seemed like an otherworldliness.
Well, it's being in tune with the greater universe, feeling that the earth has its past, present, and future. But my music actually is reaching outward, not being a part of the past, or the present, or the future, but rather what I call an altered destiny, because I'm dealing with equations. And like most people feel that the planet is doomed anyway.
It's usually positioned within Afrofuturism, a science fiction concern with the Black experience that reimagines a new present, a new future, imbued with the often overlooked histories of Black culture. Except Sun Ra's science wasn't really fiction. It was him. It was how he lived his life. He built his world, a world connected to both ancient African cultures and celestial, otherworldly futures. A world beyond oppression, a liberated world, and he lived in it. Yayoi Kusama was taken with the symbolic richness of a simple shape.
自分たちは今地球というところに生まれましたけど、結局月も水玉、太陽も水玉、それで我々の住んでる地球も水玉、そして永遠に不可解だと思われる宇宙の姿、そういったものの中にも水玉のイメージがたくさん入っておりまして、そしてそれらを通して私たちの哲学的な生きている姿というものをこの手で見てみたいと思いました。
She sees the polka dot as an abstraction of, well, everything, so she makes worlds of them. Jacolby Satterwhite has sponged a multitude of languages into his practice. The language of dance, the language of architecture, the language of games, the language of labor, the language of consumerism, of art history, of desire, and squeezed them out into his maximalist animations, his pulsing, spinning worlds. Cheng lets artificial intelligence build out his worlds. Computer-generated simulations make their own decisions as they flirt with a new aliveness. David O'Reilly built a game of everything called Everything, where you can be everything, from a virus to a leaf to a cow to a building to a star system. He built everything. Keita Takahashi created Katamari Damacy, a game that, well, I'll read the Wikipedia entry. Quote, "The game's plot concerns a diminutive prince on a mission to rebuild the stars, constellations, and moon, which were inadvertently destroyed by his father, the king of all cosmos. This is achieved by rolling a magical, highly adhesive ball called a katamari around various locations, collecting increasingly larger objects ranging from thumbtacks to people to mountains, until the ball has grown great enough to become a star." End quote. He built a world designed to rebuild the world. Penn Teller, the magicians, built a game called Desert Bus. You drive an empty bus through an empty desert from Tucson to Las Vegas for 8 real-time hours to get 1 point. Then you drive back. They built a world that represents a mundanity. Cory Arcangel, our old friend, built worlds, rebuilt artificial worlds, but with modifications. He reduced the world of Super Mario to its clouds, leaving scrolling white abstractions for us to grapple with. He modified a bowling game so you can only bowl gutter balls, building a world of inevitable failure, which, if that's everyone's condition, then doesn't feel like failure anymore. And yes, I'm building a world too. My contribution to our class's game, my level is called General Applause. It's inspired by this, and I need your help. So it's not just me's. I'll explain later. So right now, our world is a mess. There's a lot to process. I invite you to sit with the messiness for a while, to maybe reflect on what some artists have done in the past and are currently doing, and then build a world. Avery and Beckett, out. Clap. Clap. Can you clap? Can you clap? You want to clap? Wave. Say hi. Hi. Wave. Hi.